Yo, what is up, Sham Fam? It is finally here. Modern Warfare 2 has finally dropped. Now, whether you're a returning player after years or you're a sweaty competitive player who has never missed a season, I'm here to make sure that you have the best settings to jump right in and get those high kill games. So with that, let's get right into it. When you're looking at your settings, you're going to have the usual controller/keyboard stuff, your display, your graphics quality, audio, the standard stuff. So let's look at it. Now, when we look at these settings, these are my personal settings that I feel have made me feel as comfortable and as close to Warzone as possible. Now, some of these you can change for better quality or better frames, change them to suit your needs. Just remember, whatever's comfortable is right. You should start off with your display mode being full screen exclusive so that you get the most frames possible within game, no matter what you're using. Your screen refresh rate, very important to always make sure it's up to date to whatever your refresh rate is. Some of these I'm just going to breeze through because I turn most of it off because I play for the most frames. Like dynamic resolution, we keep off. Aspect ratio, VSync, all of that I'm just going to go ahead and turn off with an unlimited custom frame rate, so it's not trying to limit how many frames I get no matter where I'm at. Now, when you're looking at quality, like I said, there's trade-offs. There's higher frames, there's lower frames but better looking video at times. You got to find that balance on what you're comfortable with and what you want to have out of your game. Me personally, I try to have some decent texture, but I want the most frames I can get so that when I'm in those fights, there's no hesitation, no glitching in my game, even though my PC could probably run high graphics. But change it to your comfort and to what your system can run. You always want to have the 100 render resolution. Mine's 1920 by 1080, which is the native on my computer. Some of these settings, are just kind of specific for your quality and what you want. If you have questions about them, you can leave them down in the comments and I'll be happy to, discuss further. But we're just going to kind of scroll through them as I have them from low to normal to high on some. It just depends on what you're going for. So with the quality settings, remember that's more of a personal thing and what your system can run. If you're looking for better FPS, you're going to want to turn a lot of stuff off. When we jump over to view, it's very important to know that I come from Warzone. I try to mimic my settings to that of Warzone and prepare for that as well. But this still goes for multiplayer as well. For me on PC, I like to play at 120 FOV, but I know a lot of people are more comfortable when they play on 110. So if you're comfortable with the completely zoomed out view and you like to have more peripheral, 120 is going to be where you want to be. 110 though is still a pretty wide peripheral view while you still have help having that zoomed in sight when you're aimed down sights looking at people. Your ADS field of view is one of the most important. If you want less visual recoil, you're going to want to set it to affected. This is because it's going to basically keep the same field of view that you have set above, so my 120, and when you aim down sights, that field of view is going to stay constant instead of zooming in and making my field of view smaller. So when this happens, it makes it look like you have less recoil, but it's only a visual bug. The weapon field of view is rather new. I have it set to wide so that I have more space on my screen that I can see the enemy or anything's going on around me. So I want that gun to be as small as possible. Now, these new settings under camera are very important. Your first person camera movement, you want to drop that down to the least of 50% so that you don't have as much shaking on your screen when you're doing actions from shooting to running to whatever, so that you can have an advantage in your next gunfight. Moving down to audio. This one's kind of up for debate depending on what you've had run in the past and what you're looking for in this current multiplayer. Me personally, I wear my headphones, so I have my audio mix set up for headphones. My master volume I have turned down pretty low as it hurts my ears when it's too high. But if you want to hear those footsteps clear as day, you're going to want to have your master volume and your effects volume jacked up as much as you can take it without hurting yourself. So keep that in mind. I tend to find my effects volume around 42 to 50 is where I can hear footsteps and it's reasonably loud enough so that it doesn't hurt me. You want to set up your speakers and headphones based on the equipment you're using, whether it be an Xbox, a PlayStation, or a PC. Mono audio, you might want to try experimenting with this one as I don't remember it being in the other Call of Duties. However, I could be wrong, but this helps split out the audio into left and ear versus a singular audio channel going into both ears. It may help you have better directional awareness when it comes to finding out where the enemies are. So experiment to see if you like it. I personally have been playing with it on and I actually don't mind it. Now, of course, you're going to want to leave voice chat on so that you can hear those death comms. And when Warzone 2 comes, that proximity chat. I do want to briefly cover this last setting that they included with audio, reduce tinnitus sound. When you get flashbanged or a grenade goes off near you and you hear a loud ringing in your ears, if that's too loud and annoying in your ears, and it may hurt or cause damage over time, you can actually turn this setting on so that it's more of a muffled sound when you get flashbanged or you have a grenade go off near you. So something to try out. Now we're going to jump down to the interface settings. It has a lot of settings that are very interesting that you could change to make yourself more comfortable in the game. For instance, they have color customization that includes basically the overlay of the game, how things look with filters on it, as well as the different enemy and friendly indicators, what colors those are, as well as how vibrant they are. So experiment with that to see what you're comfortable with. I will drop my settings for my indicators and colors down below so that you'll be able to see them and compare. Now, it's comfortable for me. I haven't had any issue seeing people, but there's no rose skin yet, right? Now you may want to adjust your vertical and horizontal HUD just so that it's easier for you to see when UAVs are running, so that you can check for enemies but still keep your peripheral vision on where you're aiming and not miss an opportunity to get that kill. It's been a setting that was in Warzone that helped me in the past, but you know, try it out, let me know what you think. The rest of this is just kind of preference as far as telemetry, different readings of, you know, ping, things of that nature. Now, last but not least, I want to get to controller settings. Now, I personally play on a controller. I've used mouse and keyboard before. I'm not as good with it, and that's okay. And I know the majority of Call of Duty player base, even on PC, tends to use a controller. So I'm going to drop the settings that, if you're looking for them to feel like Warzone or Modern Warfare 2019, these are settings that help me be the most comfortable and still jump right in and get those high kill games. So for me, I don't do any crazy kind of button layout. I do use tactical because I have paddles and I just kind of like how it works in my head. So we're going to go through these really quick. All right, so we're just going to go through my controller settings really quick. Now there is advanced settings that we're going to touch as well. But to start off, I don't do anything crazy here. Controller vibration, I make sure to turn off because it just gets in the way when you're trying to play competitively. My horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity is going to be set to 7. A lot of people start out at 6, but I like 7. It feels just a little more comfortable and a little more closer to what I used in Warzone. As far as aim assist type and different sensitivity settings, we'll get to that in a second. But the rest of this page, aim down sight's pretty standard. Hold, automatic tac sprint instead of automatic sprint or none. That just makes it easier on your fingers over time. My weapon mount activation, ADS plus melee. When you're looking at multiplayer versus Warzone, my interact/reload behavior is a big setting that I think people need to be aware of. Now in multiplayer, I like to just tap X to reload or tap square to reload. If you like holding it and that's a little better for you so that you can switch or if you can pick up weapons or open doors or something like that, that's more priority, that's fine. In Warzone, I tend to have holding down the button to reload and tapping to loot. But in multiplayer, I just keep it tapped to reload so it's easier on the brain, easier on the fingers over time. Armor plate behavior, that'll be for Warzone. Once we get there, apply all with one tap of a button versus having to tap that button over and over and over. Once again, this is about saving your hands, playing competitively, and still having those high kill games. Jumping over to the advanced tab, we have target aim assist. You got to have that on unless you're just cracked out. You know, kudos to you. Maybe you practice without it, but you got to have it on. Aim assist type. This is very important. I use the default setting. I'm having a lot of people say Black Ops feels more comfortable to them and makes it feel closer to Vanguard or Cold Wars, which to me, I really didn't like those. I like Warzone and Modern Warfare 19. Default feels the closest to me. If you're a new player, you may want to try focusing though. It helps give you an extra amount of aim assist when you get closer to the target. It turns it on sooner so that you can acquire that target a little easier. Precision, if you're cracked out and you really don't need much aim assist, that may be for you. For me, I just use the standard default and it feels really nice. I don't lose a ton of battles due to the aim assist. So you're going to want to make your aim response curve dynamic. Now, for people that don't understand the response curve types, we can talk about that in a separate video, or if you have questions, put them down below in the comments and I'll be happy to discuss and debate with you, the best response curve type. But just take it from me, dynamic's going to be your best friend, especially if you're trying to match your Warzone settings. ADS sense multiplier for focus. This is relatively new. I just keep it set at 1 right now. Your ADS sensitivity transition timing, you want that instant. As soon as I press left trigger, I want it to be instant that I have my sensitivity that I have set to go into effect. And what I mean by that is custom sensitivity per zoom. Now to explain this to players that have never changed their custom sensitivity per zoom, if I am running at a 7.7 vertical and horizontal sensitivity, and my ADS sense multiplier for low zoom is at 0.65. That means I take that 0.65 times 7. And what that means is when I aim down my sights, at least on my low zoom guns, my sensitivity is now set to a 4.55. It's much slower than what my hip fire sensitivity is. This is so that at range, I can keep my aim on people a lot smoother and, trace them with my aim and hit my shots. Now, some people like having a 1-to-1 ratio, which would mean you just leave this variable set to 1. I encourage you, if you struggle tracking targets from long range or medium range, to maybe reduce that. If you see yourself overcorrecting a lot of shots, reduce it down. Try at 0.75. If you need to go lower, go lower. I currently am comfortable at a 0.65. Your input dead zones, this can be very important as far as, if you don't have custom controllers. Your left stick minimum input dead zone, you want it to be your left and right stick minimum input. You want it to be as low as possible without creating stick drift. So if you go down to 0.10 and you notice your character's moving on their own, you need to bump it up. If you go, too high and you're moving your analog stick and there's almost a delay before your character moves, then you need to drop it down. Drop it down as far as you can without stick drift so that your movements are a lot more cracked and in sync with what your fingers are trying to do. Your right trigger, left trigger, same kind of concept. As soon as you press the trigger, you want it to react. So set it as low as you possibly can at times. If you set it too low, I've had issues where it doesn't even register you pulling the trigger, so be careful with that. Auto move forward, tack sprint behavior. We already covered that we have auto tack sprint on. Grounded mantle I have turned on. Turn it off if you really just hate when you jump and you automatically mantle something and instead would rather look at the object and double tap to jump over it. It doesn't bother me too bad. Airborne mantle I keep at partial. And that's it. Now guys, if you want to continue to learn how to improve your game and want to stay up to date on the latest tips and tricks, be sure to like the video, leave a comment down below if you have questions, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. But until next time guys, be easy and create your luck.